Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here. Today, we'll be exploring the Surah Humazah, a powerful chapter from the Quran. This presentation is brought to you by Continuous Learning Development, copyright 2025. Over the next few minutes, we'll look into its meaning, significance, and what lessons we can learn. So, let's get started and dive into the world of Surah Humazah together. Today, we begin with a powerful reminder from Allah, peace be upon him, who starts with a verse that condemns backbiting and slander. This is a serious warning about the harm these actions cause. Ibn Abbas explains that Humazah Lumazah refers to someone who reviles and disgraces others, essentially, a person who spreads negativity and insults behind people's backs. Mujahid adds that al-Humazah involves the use of the hand and eye, meaning physical actions and looks, while al-Lumazah relates to the tongue, highlighting the verbal aspect. The verse, "Woe to every backbiter, slanderer," from Surah al-Humazah, emphasizes the gravity of these sins. It's a strong warning that those who indulge in backbiting and slander are warned of serious consequences. As we connect this to our overall theme of continuous learning and self-improvement, it's crucial to recognize that guarding our speech and actions is part of our spiritual growth. We must be mindful of how our words and behaviors can harm others and ourselves. This verse reminds us that true progress comes from fostering integrity and respect in our interactions. In this slide, we see a powerful description from the Quran about those who amass wealth greedily. The phrase al-Lumazah with the tongue highlights how some people talk about others, often with envy or criticism, but this verse shifts focus to their own behavior. It talks about someone who gathers wealth and keeps piling it up, counting it repeatedly, almost obsessively. What's important here is understanding that their preoccupation with material wealth consumes their entire day. They move from one thing to another, always focused on accumulating more. But when night falls, instead of resting peacefully, they sleep like a rotting corpse. This imagery emphasizes the emptiness and spiritual decay that comes with such greed. The key point is that greed and obsession with wealth can lead to a life that's ultimately hollow and disconnected from true value. It's a reminder that wealth, when pursued excessively, can distract us from more meaningful, lasting pursuits. Connecting this to the overall theme, it's about recognizing the dangers of greed and the importance of balance and contentment in our lives. On this slide, we see a common misconception that many people have. Some believe that accumulating wealth will ensure their everlasting stay in this worldly life. They think that by amassing riches, they can secure a kind of immortality here on earth. However, the reality is quite different. What they often fail to realize is that everyone will eventually face death, and at that moment, they will be held accountable for their actions and possessions. Wealth, no matter how much we gather, cannot save us from the inevitable. It's a reminder that our focus should not be solely on material gains, but on preparing for what's truly important beyond this life. This concept aligns with the verse from the Quran 104:3, which emphasizes that thinking wealth will make someone immortal is a false illusion. It highlights the importance of understanding our true purpose and not getting caught up in temporary worldly pursuits. So, as we continue, let's reflect on the idea that true success involves more than just accumulating wealth. It's about accountability and preparing for the hereafter. Let's take a closer look at what this slide is telling us. The phrase, meaning, "the matter is not as he claims, nor as he thinks," highlights how sometimes people's perceptions or claims about their actions or wealth are not aligned with the reality. It emphasizes that appearances can be deceiving, especially when it comes to moral and spiritual accountability. Now, the term al-Qutama is particularly significant here. It refers to the person who has gathered and counted wealth, which might seem innocent or even admirable at first glance. But the key point is what happens to such a person. According to the verse, he will be thrown into al-Hudama, which is a descriptive name for hellfire. The word Hudama conveys the idea of crushing or pounding, illustrating the intense, destructive nature of this punishment. This teaches us that accumulating wealth without regard for spiritual or moral values, or obsession with material gain, can lead to severe consequences in the hereafter. The phrase, which crushes whoever is in it, vividly describes the harshness of this punishment, emphasizing that it's not just about wealth, but about how such actions and priorities may lead someone into danger. And importantly, the slide makes a clear point. Not at all. Such a person will certainly be tossed into the crusher. This is a firm reminder that those who focus solely on worldly riches, neglecting spiritual responsibilities, will face serious repercussions. Connecting this to the overall theme of our presentation, it's a call to reflect on our priorities, reminding us that true success involves balancing worldly pursuits with spiritual awareness. Wealth in itself isn't condemned, but when it becomes a distraction from our moral duties, it can become a source of punishment rather than blessing. Let's take a closer look at this powerful verse from 104:5. It says, Al-Hudama is the fire of Allah al-Muqaddah, which refers to a fierce, consuming fire that is associated with divine punishment. The phrase, which leaps up over the hearts, vividly describes how this fire is not just external, but it penetrates deeply, targeting the core of our being, our hearts and consciences. Now the question posed here is, and what will make you realize what the crusher is? This is a rhetorical question meant to provoke reflection. It challenges us to truly understand the severity and reality of this divine punishment, the crusher, or al-Hudama. This verse highlights the importance of awareness and mindfulness about our actions and their consequences. It reminds us that divine justice is imminent and powerful, and it urges us to stay conscious of our deeds to avoid such a fate. Connecting this to the overall theme of the presentation, it's a stark reminder of accountability. It encourages us to reflect on our lives, our choices, and how we can align ourselves with righteousness to avoid this fiery fate. This verse isn't just about fear, it's about consciousness, being aware of the divine presence and justice that oversee our actions. Today, I want to talk about a powerful metaphor found in this slide, al-Muqaddah, which leaps up over the hearts. This phrase paints a vivid picture of something that rises above and penetrates deep into our hearts. It's quite evocative, isn't it? What we're really looking at here is the concept of divine passion or inspiration, kindled fire from Allah, as referenced in the verse 104:6. This fire isn't destructive in a harmful way. Instead, it's a symbol of spiritual awakening, motivation, and the divine spark that ignites our inner selves. This idea of a fire that kindles over the hearts reminds us of how divine guidance or motivation can elevate us beyond ordinary effort. It's about that internal spark that pushes us toward growth, transformation, and connection with the divine. Throughout this presentation, we've been exploring how divine inspiration fuels our development. This slide emphasizes that it's not just a passive feeling, but an active, rising force that influences our entire being. So, the key takeaway is that this divine fire, this divine inspiration, is something that leaps over the barriers of our hearts, inspiring us to move forward with purpose and passion. It's a beautiful reminder of the active role divine guidance plays in our continuous learning and spiritual journey. Let's take a closer look at this powerful excerpt. Thabit al-Bunani describes a fire that will burn all the way to a person's heart while they are still alive. This imagery emphasizes the severity and intensity of the torment. He then states that the torment will actually reach them, highlighting that the punishment is not just superficial, but penetrates deeply into their being. Mohammed bin Kabi adds further detail, explaining that the fire will consume every part of the body until it reaches the heart and even the throat, but then it will retreat back into the body. This back and forth suggests a relentless, cyclical nature of the punishment, something that is both physically and spiritually devastating. Connecting this to the overall theme, it underscores how severe the consequences are for those who are heedless of divine guidance. The phrase, which rages over the hearts, from the Quran 104:7, reminds us that the core of the punishment targets the very heart, the seat of conviction and emotion. This slide serves as a stark reminder of the gravity of divine justice and the importance of safeguarding our hearts and souls from such torment. As we look at this final slide, I want to emphasize that the content here is copyright 2025 by Continuous Learning Development, highlighting our ongoing commitment to growth. The phrase, "it will be sealed over them," is quite profound. It refers to a concept found in the tafsir of Surat al-Balad, specifically in verse 90-20, where masada means covering or sealing. This idea of sealing indicates a state where certain conditions become unchangeable or final. For instance, in the context of the Quran, it signifies that some outcomes or states are ultimately sealed, unalterable, and beyond human intervention. You'll also notice the reference to 104:8, reinforcing this notion of sealing or covering over certain things. Connecting this to our broader theme, it's a reminder of the importance of our choices and actions, knowing that some consequences are sealed and cannot be reversed. It underscores the significance of making mindful decisions and striving for positive outcomes before it's too late. So, as we reflect on these concepts, let's remember that understanding the idea of masada and sealing helps us appreciate the gravity of our actions and the importance of seeking mercy and guidance in our journey. As we look at this slide, we see the phrase "in pillars stretched forth," which is a powerful imagery referenced in the Quran. Here, the scholars Adiya al-Afi and as-Sudi provide different interpretations of these pillars. Adiya al-Afi describes them as pillars of iron, emphasizing their strength and unbreakable nature. On the other hand, as-Sudi mentions they are made of fire, which highlights the intense and severe aspect of these pillars. Furthermore, Ibn Abbas explains that these pillars symbolize the punishment awaiting wrongdoers, pillars over them, chains on their necks, and gates of hell shut tight. This imagery serves as a reminder of the gravity of divine justice and the severity of the hereafter. The phrase, "tightly secured with long braces," reinforces the idea that these punishments are fixed, unchangeable, and secure. Nothing can loosen or escape them. Connecting this to our overall theme, it underscores the importance of righteousness and awareness of the hereafter, reminding us of the serious consequences of our actions. It's a vivid portrayal meant to inspire reflection and encourage us to stay on the straight path. Let's take a moment to understand some important concepts related to gossip and slander in our tradition. The term "ghiba" refers to speaking about someone behind their back in a way they would dislike, even if what you're saying is true. It's a reminder that even truthful comments can be harmful if shared improperly. Then there, buhtan, which is often translated as slander. In this context, it specifically refers to telling lies about someone. It's an even more serious issue because it involves falsehoods that can damage reputations. Finally, we have namimah, which describes the act or process of communicating ghiba and buhtan. It's about how these harmful words are spread, carrying tales from one person to another with the intention of creating mischief, discord, or enmity among friends, family, or the community at large. To sum up, these concepts highlight the importance of mindful speech. We should be cautious not to indulge in ghiba or buhtan, and we should understand that spreading tales, what we call namimah, can have serious social consequences. This aligns with our overall goal of promoting integrity, respect, and harmony within our communities.